Octagon News.
I think it's wrong what the UFC is doing to Khabib. They didn't do the same thing to McGregor. I will pay $2 million cash tonight if he will fight for me at Bellator. Khabib did not give a clear-cut statement on whether he would join Bellator or not. He commented, "Send me location, and if you want to see place where real men are born, I invite you to Dagestan. And when I come to USA I will let you know. Thank you for your support, you are a real man." Although the rapper may be putting a generous offer on the table, it's ultimately likely a very meaningless one. Khabib is contractually obligated to the UFC and won't be able to part ways with the company unless he's released or opts to breach his contract, which is highly unlikely.
How can you not love these guys? For DC, what's he risking? Jeez, I don't know. One of the biggest fights in heavyweight history against Brock Lesnar. If he was to lose that Brock Lesnar fight, see ya. The John Jones fight at heavyweight for the world title, see ya. So him stepping in on short notice, basically 3 weeks, to fight Derek Lewis, who everyone goes, Derek has no cardio, all he has is that right hand. Yeah, but it's the hardest right hand in the world. So it's not just a gimme. Is it a great matchup for DC? Hell yeah. Derek Lewis just fought. DC's been kind of doing his thing, doing the entertainment thing, doing the analyst gig. I'm sure he's been training some, but I don't think he expected to fight this soon. So there's that element of surprise. And Derek Lewis has nothing to lose. He's going to come out DC like a banshee. You think Derek Lewis is training for 25 minutes? Nope. You're going to get 5 minutes of fury. 5 minutes of fury. If DC can withstand that 5 minutes of fury, DC is going to win this pretty handily. That's a big if, though. Derek Lewis packs a freaking punch, as we saw with Volkov. So it's an intriguing fight to me. I don't think it's just a toss-up. If I want to make money, I think the line I saw Derek Lewis is a plus 800. I'm not mad at putting a few $100 on Derek Lewis as a dog, because that right hand can make you some money. I don't care who you are. He touches you on the chin, you're going to sleep. I like the fight. Both, you got hats off to both these gentlemen. There's a lot to gain, a lot to risk.
What about Conor fucking cheating all night? Did anybody ever bring him out this? The guy's fucking, first of all, he illegally kneed him. Yeah. How about Khabib not being a fucking bitch where he gets kneed in the face illegally like Frank Shamrock did to Renzo Gracie when he was cross-eyed on him. And, yo, Khabib did not move at all. He's like, yo, fuck it. Go, yeah, good. Good, need me again. I'm not losing, getting the fuck off of you. That guy wanted to get stood up so bad he was going to take the foul. Anyway, that just came to me. Like
no, but he was grabbing the glove. He grabbed the fence a couple of times. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but listen. You're right, though, Jimmy. You're right, Jimmy. You're right. He should not have jumped over. I'm not trying to make excuses for that. But all these young fighters out there, guys, yeah, you're going to be hated. I mean, like, look, Colby Covington's another one, dude. He talks about with John Jones. The stuff he talks about with these guys is deeper than just fighting. This one's doing that, or this one's with his wife, or this one. Dude, that just shows a piece of shit. And I'm not saying Conor is. I'm saying, like, well, Colby Covington is a piece of shit.
Well, you always got to be ready. I didn't have time for emotions, though, right? Because I went from calling the biggest fight in UFC history to then calling the brawl. And I think subconsciously that was just how I was going to proceed until Zach Candido or Michael LaPlante got in my ear and said, hey, bucko, stop calling the brawl so we can figure out if we want to show it or not, right? I mean, there were a lot of different layers to it, and there are still a lot of different layers to it, right? I'm still processing things on Wednesday, and I turned down a lot of media requests early on right after it happened because I wanted to process those thoughts. So by the time I cracked the mic for my podcast on Monday, my thesis statement was, man, this could have been a whole lot worse. Like, I actually think that we're going to get through this. It's really not going to be that big of a deal, and maybe that is falling on some deaf ears and your audience thinks that's crazy. But UFC security, Las Vegas police, T-Mobile security, everybody did a great job. I think a lot of people were expectant that tempers could flare, even if it was just fans in the crowd. And because of the dolly throwing incident back in April, I think everybody was on the ready and focused, and they prevented this from being an absolute disaster. So I think Khabib, I'm not sure if he would take it back necessarily. I think he wanted to make a point that there's things you can say and can't say, and we move on, and hopefully for Khabib's sake, he gets to realize a lot of that money, and the suspension, isn't any longer than 6 months.
So what is your prediction, or, knowing what the commission can do? I would venture to guess it'd be around a 6-month suspension. There's only so much they can fine, because I read where somebody said they would hold his $2 million. They are holding the $2 million paycheck, but it doesn't mean he's not going to get his $2 million. I think there's certain limitations in the area of $250,000 or so that can be fined to him. What do you think could happen? And do you think the Attorney General is going to step in, since Conor refused to press charges against the 2 fighters that were throwing punches that Dana White has openly said will never fight in the UFC again? What's your prediction? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, you try to talk about this in the most efficient way, but there's so many different individuals and implications. Certainly the guys who weren't competing athletes on this night, I don't necessarily think they should compete in the UFC anymore. I mean, for Zubair Tukhugov to jump the fence, and even though Conor threw the first punch at Zubair, Conor was in self-defense. He had just lost a mixed martial arts contest, and he was in the octagon, and people are coming in the octagon. He was at a point there of self-defense and protecting himself. In terms of the punishments, the 2010 brawl in Nashville with Mayhem Miller and the Diaz brothers and the Scrap Pack and everybody else, the fines were not big. They were $20,000 fines that I think at some point got reduced to $5,000 or $7,500. Maybe they'll make an example of Khabib because of the magnitude of the moment, this being the biggest fight in UFC history on paper. But I hope they don't dock him more than 20 or 25% of that $2 million. I will say he's going to make a Brinks truck full on pay-per-view, though. I mean, when the pay-per-view buys are all tallied, he came in as the champion with a very good pay-per-view buy rate and all that. So he's going to do just fine. But I don't know, man. I think with some time removed from it, I just feel like he's established so much goodwill with me, with everybody else in the promotion. He's such a respectful, classy, intelligent guy that I just feel like if anybody deserves a pardon, call me crazy, but it's him.
I do believe that, I believe his threats, of course. I definitely believe it, but they're not going to withhold $2 million. Like, he knows he's going to see a portion of that. I mean, I don't see how legally you get around not giving someone the money that they earned. They may fine him a hefty amount, but he's going to get that money. He's pissed off and he's saying, keep the money. I don't care about the money. But, I mean, deep down, I think we all know he's going to at least get a good portion, like most of that money. I believe his threats, though. Like, I believe that if they do cut, I think it's honor first. And I think that's what this whole feud was about. Like, I said it time and time again that Khabib had me entirely fooled. He was so calm and cool and collected. And he even looked just maybe a bit nervous walking into the octagon. And I wasn't sure what I was going to see out of him. But he fought a perfect fight. He was calm and collected the whole time. He beats Conor, and then the outrage ensues. Like, that blew me away. I really thought that, he had done it all right. He got to that point. He beat Conor. He's like, yes, I won. All is well in the world. He wasn't. He wasn't done. He had some business to settle, and, that's when the craziness ensued. But do I think that he is loyal to a fault almost? Absolutely. And I think that he would walk away from his UFC contracts.
Octagon News.